Welcome back to Somewhat Sick. This is episode 11. Had a friend, Carl Guthrie, come over to do a non-judgmental podcast, but you know how he goes. So this is a little bit on what are his pros and cons, and how does he feel about the whole situation in America right now. It's pretty action-packed. Check it out. Somewhat Sick, VitaminNick, episode 11.
Comparing, I don't know, like if you had to take Gatorade and take it out of a sports drink, and is it a water? Is it a liquid? Is it a solution? All these different types of a liquid. I'd have to say water. It's got more of, it hydrates you. It's got H2O in there. However, it doesn't have, just pure.
Does that have high fructose corn syrup in it? Like, I don't know.
Probably. I mean, anything these days. Like, if I, not to get off topic, but if I want a clear dosage of electrolytes, get pure coconut water.
What about smart water?
Smart water's got electrolytes, but it's not as good as coconut water. Like the natural, bam, this is right out of the fruit that produces
I don't think I like coconut water. That's
like,
oh,
dude, no, I'm
watered
not saying,
down. No, like, I think I've tried like a can of it or some shit. Like, I was like, man, it tastes like coconut.
Yeah, I'll tell you what,
shit.
we drink alcohol, and alcohol tastes terrible, but it makes us feel great.
Modelo doesn't taste terrible, and I like Corona myself, but at the same time, like, Gordon will tell you, somebody pisses in it.
Yeah.
Show me one Mexican that drinks Corona and shit, and I'm like, you don't work in a warehouse, bro. Like, I worked in a warehouse before, and every one of the Mexicans would drink warm Corona because they don't give a fuck. I'm saying it's just alcohol.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think with me, because I'm definitely no beer snob, right. And I say that with utmost confidence because I drink alcohol to get a feeling. It's kind of like coffee. Like coffee, it can taste good. You put the right creamer, the right amount of sugar and stuff like that, and they're like you can take like a Mike's Hard Lemonade, or you take Apple Orchard cider, or even a mixed drink. You make a mixed drink, proportionally. Like you can taste alcohol, but it tastes good. It's got a good flavor to it. People who are like they're the whole beer snob, like wine snobs, they know what a Grolsch tastes like. They know what a Pilsner tastes like. They know what an IPA tastes like. They know what a lager tastes like. And they sit there and they're just like, okay, they're snooty on the accentuation of the taste. However, it's just beer. Like it's
malted
just, it's
hops.
supposed. Yeah, it's like, and I understand, and going back to the medical field, like everybody's different. So something might not be great for somebody, but it might be great for somebody else. And I always tell people, I'm like, look, when it comes to drinking beer, and I go to like one of these micro breweries, like Mountain or Chaos Mountain or what is that? Star Hill.
Oh yeah.
What's that one off Kessler Mill Road? Oh my gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Parkway.
Yeah.
Like all these places, I will go there, and I always say to the bartender, "What is the most alcohol by volume beer you serve?" Oh, it's the Get Ben IPA or something. Yeah, it's like, okay, that's the one I want. Like, I'm not going there to sit there and taste beer.
You're gonna chase that beer, though, right?
Do what?
Do you chase that beer?
No. Oh, yeah, I don't ever chase. Like, for instance, and the only reason why I stopped doing this is because I think my liver and kidneys have completely were like, dude, what are you doing?
The cells then do.
Four Locos.
Yeah, that's not good.
Sparks.
That's that shit that's got the caffeine and extra shit in it.
Yeah,
You really don't. I'm pretty sure it's got ephedrine in it too. Real talk.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Right?
Like, well,
it kills people.
The concept behind that and the reason why I was like, okay, I was introduced to Juice, Joose, years ago.
Jose is what I thought they were.
Yeah, and dude, I totally.
The dragon fruit got me.
Yeah, I took because I hike and I was like, man, I like drinking beer. I really didn't get into like drinking whiskey until like I don't know, like my mid-20s because like I just like beer and it's just like smoking for instance, like it's an oral fixation. You just like when you start drinking, you get to a point where you start kind of getting tired and drowsy, so you got to drink more to keep going. And I think a lot of people who smoke marijuana, real like people who don't understand how to balance it out, they'll just smoke it like 5-6 times a day, every day. They just and then it's just like an oral fixation. Like even, and I can say this when I was younger and I used to drink and I used to participate in certain things. I would start getting more messed up, and I would just stop really paying attention on my intake. I was just doing it just to stay awake, and it got to the point where I just crashed, and I go to sleep, and the next day, what did you do, man? Like, pounding headaches. Like, I still get drunk. Don't get me wrong. I will get drunk every other week almost.
It's the water. You have to drink after you drink.
And I'm getting,
a lot of people don't realize that.
And
so.
I've been a big proponent and a big preacher to people who are alcoholics at where I work. I'm like, look, dude, you have to look at what kind of alcohol you're drinking, what's the alcohol by volume, and then you got to match that with water. Like, when I drink, for instance, for me, I'm 175, I'm 5'9", and I don't really know what my body fat is. I'm pretty in shape.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm all right. Like, so every about 3 to 4 shots, and so if I take 3 shots within 1 hour, I'm definitely drinking 12 ounces of water. Like, I found that to be fine.
Like, no, it's 12 ounces in a water bottle, right?
Yeah.
So 12-ounce water bottle, yeah.
Right, because usually, like, I'll take a real healthy, it's like a shot and a half, like a healthy dose, and then, I say healthy, it's a real substantial shot, and I'll ride that shot out for like 30 minutes, and I'll take another shot. I won't get the same effect as that first initial shot, so about 10 minutes later, I'll take that third shot. So usually I do about 3 shots per hour for the first 3 hours, and this is like when I'm with my buddies. Right. I don't have to work the next day. I've got nothing going on. I know I can sleep in.
It's a party situation.
Yeah. I mean, even for New Year's, like same thing followed. So I was mixing alcohol then. I basically, it got to the point where every hour after that second hour, I was drinking like up to 16 to 24 ounces of water. Like I was peeing, but I was drinking. And I remember the next day, like you can't replenish everything that alcohol drives you from, like your electrolytes and certain other things in your blood system that keep you normal, but you won't feel so deathly ill the next day because
dehydrated.
Yeah, it just dehydrates you in. But you also got to think potassium. But like and you can actually, and this is what I told the guys at work in our summertime safety meeting. I was like, don't drink too much water. You have to have some kind of like salts or sugars because you can get hyponatremia. That's when your blood becomes so diluted with H2O, you need some potassium in there, you need some sugars in there to kind of like equal that out.
I take a multivitamin, so I'm good.
Multivitamins. Well, you can still overhydrate. That's why I always say if you're going to get a sports drink like a Powerade or a Gatorade, I always tell people, and this is a paramedic told me this. They're saying the best thing to do, when you're working hard and you're sweating a lot. Take that Gatorade, pour half of it out, fill the rest back up with water. That's the best Gatorade you can drink. Aside from that, it's like coconut water and just straight water. They're just heavy on, however, I think it's for every 60 ounces of water, you have to have at least like 12 ounces of something else to kind of supplement with that water. I forget the ratio, but as long as you're intaking something along with water, like you're good to go.
I think the big question is, and we might find out about this on Somewhat Sick, but do you got a problem with tap water? Do you think it's got fluoride and shit in it? There's a lot of people out there.
I think of more along the lines of like the, what is it? Not the sewage. The, I guess how it gets to your house, it goes through pipes, and over time they can become corroded, and who's to know other than, like, I live in Salem. The water, I don't taste any of that stuff. You can, in the city, you might be able to taste it. I really don't know. I mean,
you have to judge your own water before you act like everybody else's tap water is infected with fluoride and you got soft minds and shit and you're not thinking for yourself. And I'm like, dude, I'm just saying my tap water tastes just as good as that Nestle Life Water shit. And I'm like, look, I can fill up a Nestle Life Water and like, if you didn't break the top to the cap on it, you'd be like, well, shit, this isn't a real water. I want a real water and shit. And I'm just like, dude, it tastes just like it though. So like, I don't know. Somebody's got to show me some proof and shit.
Yeah,
to prove to me that tap water is bad for me.
Yeah, I'm. I remember being a kid. My aunt, like, she was in college, and you know how they like to teach certain things in college. She was scared of drinking tap water because it had like fluoride or something in the and then metal particles and all this stuff, and she was drinking a Vina or Evina. This is like, I think, the first bottle of water I saw. Then comes to find out a few years later, oh, that's not healthy for you either because of the BPA.
Yeah,
you know, so now you got BPA from plastic. So I'm like, okay, it's just like, you know,
they're always picking something.
Yeah, they're always. It's almost like a religion.
They
almost.
need you to buy it for a higher price than what they can get it for you.
I put in my body farm to table stuff, and I'm like, okay, farm to table, but you live like downtown Manhattan. And the only thing you're getting farm from table is like something from the sea. Everything else is coming from like upstate or over in like California. I think California like provides what, like 80% of like our produce as far as like being homegrown produce.
Right.
Something like, I remember somebody telling me that, and that's got to be shipped to all these other states. So even when it says organic, you know, because I used to work at the fresh market in the produce department, and the produce department guy over there, he was telling me the conventional stuff is healthier for you than the organic stuff because they put a different type of pesticide on it to meet that guideline of organic, but it's still a pesticide that's aside from this pesticide that's not rated. So he was like,
I thought organic was more or less like the hormones and shit they put into the chickens or into the beef.
It's more along the lines of, you know, like seeds. They don't come back every year.
Right.
Like Monsanto's has a monopoly on that, but you can go to USPatriotSeeds.com and actually have seeds that come back every year. You can find people that have it. It's just, that's a whole different topic. But
what was that, the website for the people that need to know?
Oh, PatriotSeeds.com. I haven't been there in years. I don't know if it's still up and running. But their seeds, you plant it once, they come back every season.
Okay.
It's either US Patriot Seeds or PatriotSeeds.com. I'm sure if you Google search it, it'll come up and it'll show you. But there are websites out there where people have actually, you know,
heirloom tomatoes and shit. Is it more like
dude, it's like everything.
Everything.
Like everything.
Go check that out.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm just a big stickler on, you know, I don't care if it's organic. I don't care if it's conventional. All I know is, you know, the thing's not rotting. It doesn't have a certain amount of pesticides on it, and you know there is a certain amount of regulation that goes into, you know, like produce and meat. Like certain things have to meet the FDA, but then there's certain things that don't meet FDA standards, like deer meat and elk and moose and bison. Like,
why does that not meet the FDA?
I don't know. Some bisons. Well, it all has to do with I think the monetary system. Like, right. You know, deer. Like Ted Nugent, for instance, he was a real big proponent on helping out men's shelters and women's shelters. And like these people, man, they're starving. They don't have food. My buddies and I would get out there and we hunt. And you know, we get to hunt and bring in a bunch of meat. And they're really all hunters, man. Like you might have some like very asshole nice rednecks or some asshole inner city people. They don't care about the regulation because it's real important that we don't, you know, take too much away from the environment because it won't be there later on. That's why the inland fishing game came about. It's because people were overfishing, and you know, certain fish need to be in a regulation in order to take them out and take them home, and for good reason. Because a lot of people, a lot of poor families still hearken their skills to go out and bring back wild game because they don't have money to go to the meat department and buy meat. Like, if you look at groceries, man, like, groceries are, like, astronomically out there. Like, we stopped paying attention to groceries and just over the past, like, I don't know, 15, 20 years, we just been looking at oil prices, like gas prices.
But milk is now more expensive than a gallon of gas.
Yeah, man.
What is that about?
I don't know. But then again, I'm
milk's
not really
bad for you.
Well, I'm not really big on milk. I like milk when it comes to, like, cooking things.
Coffee.
Like, it's, coffee, you know, eggs, if I'm like making my eggs, egg whites, you know, just whatever you use milk with to supplement something. Because it does have calcium in there.
True.
Yeah, and I mean, we're like the only species that drinks other milk from other animals aside from our mothers and whatnot, so, you know.
I never drank it from my mother. She's a smoker, so.
Yeah, I don't know how I got my milk, man. Honestly, my mom was a smoker. I don't even know if she stopped smoking when I was in the womb. I think my dad said she tried but then didn't, but I don't know. I'm only 5'9". Most of my friends are like 6 feet plus. So I'm like, you know, maybe there might have.
6 feet plus, and my mom didn't stop.
Yeah, well, my genes didn't fare so well. But then again, I'm not going to quite like getting back to my theological sense. I love how early Collar on Squidbilly says he's like, don't question the work of the Lord. So it's like, I don't question it. I'm happy. I'm married. You know, this, that, and the other. I'm healthy. It's just like, man, sometimes I wish I was taller. So when I'm doing things I can reach, but then sometimes the tall guys, they have a hard time getting through the woods, and I've got
a small fucking house and shit. Hit your head on everything.
Yeah,
And shit.
Pros and cons, man.
Right.
Just pros and cons. It's wherever you are in life. Like, there's a pro to what you have, and there's a con to what you don't.
I want that on a shirt. VitaminNick. Somebody be fucked with.
Dopamine.
Right.
You know, social media. That's becoming a real big problem. I've been seeing a lot of these CEOs and ex-vice presidents from, like, Twitter and Facebook. They're just like, we had no idea, like, this was going to take off the way it did. And it's like it's almost like a societal problem where people were, like, more focused on strangers having likes as opposed to, like, people actually liking you on your street.
I get that.
And it's crazy, and they're trying to reel it in now. And I've seen a couple YouTube videos about it. I think one of them, this dude, I think he was like a CEO for Facebook, and he was up there with Mark Zuckerberg, and he's just like, you know, it just got out of control, and you know, it's leading to more and more societal rot. Like, people want to feel good about themselves instead of actually being good.
Right.
Like, you know, the way I feel about myself is like, how dare you judge me? Like, judging's good.
That's what
I'm gonna look left and right before I cross the street. I'm judging the outcome. If it's at night and I'm at a certain area and I see people dressed a certain way, you know, I'm gonna be on my guard. I mean, I don't care who you are. Like, you can think best intentions all you want until, you know, shit hits the fan, and then you're like, wow, I should have been keeping my, you know, eye over my shoulder.
Right.
You know, and just how people,
head on a swivel.
You can look how people carry themselves. I don't care what race you are. If you're walking and dressing and talking a certain way, yeah, I'm gonna have my suspicions, and
right.
you know, that's a
so
whole other
trick
ballpark.
in the book, though, basically is like, look, you going down a fucking dark alley, or not really an alley, but it's like 10:30 at night, and you got like a black group of kids on this side of the street and a white group of kids on this side of the street. Which side of the street you gonna walk down?
I've seen that before. Yeah,
it's pretty simple,
depends
but at the same time,
depends
like,
on how they're walking and how they carrying themselves.
How much hair the white people have, and
yeah.
Right,
I mean,
look, like,
I mean, if they're like the Mohawks and they got
the judgment, though.
Yeah,
right.
Well, people will intentionally dress a certain way to have a projective view of themselves. Like, for me, I try to dress, first off, it's function over form. Like, right now I have my 511 pants on, I've got my winter boots on, it's snowing outside, it's 20 degrees,
right.
I've got a 3-layered system on, I've tucked my shirt in because I might holster later on, and, you know, I like being approachable. I dress so people can approach me because I love other people. There's people I work with who I don't like, but I still love them.
Right.
You know, I hate what people do, but it doesn't mean I hate them. So, you know, I try to be, you know, somebody who can come up to me who looks like, you know, they have a question about something, or, you know, this guy looks like, you know, he can help me, you know, move my truck. You know, I want to be helpful, not because I feel good about it makes me feel good. Like, yeah, in return, like, I don't, it's not that I feel good about myself. It's just like, hey, I'm happy to help somebody out, and man, their day is better. Like, that's what it's all about. Like, I could care less how it makes me feel. That's never the motive. And in Christianity, it teaches you sin is the will behind the motive. Like, I'm going to hold this door open for you to make myself feel good about myself. Like, no, that's not genuine. That's not genuine love. That's not, you know, that's you're doing something to help you, not actually.
What if I hold that door open for you just because I was first? Like, you didn't say thank you, and I didn't say you're welcome or anything. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm just being polite, but at the same time, like,
well,
if you weren't right behind me, I wouldn't open the door for you. But you're right behind me, so here you go.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like,
well, it also depends. Like, hey, am I in a rush? I'm just running here real quick. I'm on the way to work. Like, there's so many different things. It's just the motive. Yeah, and so going back to presenting yourself, you know, that's how I want to, you know, other people to approach me and to be approachable so that I can be of service. You know, I'm going into the medical field to help out other people in their most vulnerable times. Like, my mother had multiple sclerosis. I know what it's like to live and to take care of an invalid. My grandmother was the same way. She's living out in Richmond right now, but the thing with, you know, the elderly people and people who have disabilities, you either have it or you don't, or you never worked on it, is just being patient. Like, you know, I've seen my my aunt gets so mad at my grandmother because my grandmother can't hear, and my aunt just loses patience with it. She's just like, Mom, speak up. What, like, or like, Mom, I told you 3 times. She's like, I'm sorry, honey, I just can't hear. Like, she can't help it. Like, if she's purposefully not paying attention to you, like, yeah, I'll get frustrated. I mean, that's just a human thing. But if somebody can't help it, slow down, be a little bit more, speak louder and speak slower. Like, that's a whole different ballpark.
Right.
But yeah, just taking the time to be like, hey, we're supposed to be, humans here. We're supposed to be watching after one another, and then back to society. The whole like, me. Like people and these college kids, it's fascinating because they all want to impact the world. They all want to be the change in the world, but they don't want to change themselves.
True.
And everybody gets back to that Gandhi thing where it's like, be the change you want to see in the world. Well, what kind of change? Like changing just for the sake of change to make, change the world so you feel good about yourself, but it never really helped anybody. A lot of people who are into the whole green earth thing, like, yeah, like I'm cool with cleaner energy, better production,
legalizing
helping
cannabis,
the economy. Yeah, even that,
like,
anything that's clean, that's going to work, that's going to help the economy and help out people and help out jobs, like, I'm all for.
Right.
However, the same people who are about Green Earth, and I remember seeing this in one of our local outdoor magazines. Mm-hmm. This guy, he went to this guy's farm. He was a homesteader and been a homesteading his whole life. He was like, I'm driving my Prius with my, Go Green sticker on the back and this, that, and the other. He gets to this house, and this guy and his wife have been living on a farm their whole lives. They had a little hydroelectric plant that helped them with energy. They had a septic that they would take things, they would, make compost for their like, they were very self-sufficient, but they weren't out there like telling everybody to do the same thing. However, I think it's great for everybody to go off the grid, but there's so much laziness in this country, so much ingratitude, so much things that are just taken for granted. And in my life, and I find this a lot, I'm in my mid-30s, here's my cons. I'm in my mid-30s. I don't have a career. I'm not really doing anything in my life that feels like, I love getting up every day to do something. And, I really would like to make more money so that I could have, children now, and I can start making children now. Okay, there's the cons, right? But here's my pros. I don't have a disability. I have a vehicle. I have a roof over my head. I have food in my stomach. I have clean water to drink out of. I have the opportunity to go out there and make something of myself. And the problem is if I can see my pride, if I can see my, oh man, I failed at this. Well, that doesn't mean you need to stop. And that's where pride can, like, you have an expectation of yourself. You don't meet that expectation. Okay, impression without expression causes depression.
I like how I had to violently pull the liquor bottle out of your hand.
Yeah.
So if I fail to act on something, or if I do act on something and I fail at that, that doesn't mean, okay, I failed, I'm a failure. There's nothing, this was my goal. This is what I wanted to do. I didn't meet that. So, and a lot of these college kids, they go into college and they go after these degrees thinking that, oh, they're going to make something of themselves, and they come to find out that, majoring in lesbian dance theory does not bring you 6 figures on a paycheck. It's just kind of like fun to think about, maybe.
Not so much lesbian dance theory, but it's more or less just arts.
Yeah, or some people want to go into be like a philosopher. A buddy I worked with, he went to philosophy. Like, that's great, that's fascinating. Now, where's your career at? Like, you have to, like, if you're going to go to college, I always say, if you're going to go to college, find something that actually people do come out and there's like a higher rate. Right. Figure out, talk to people,
The world's changing so quick, though, Guthrie, and I'm like, man, I don't know.
Oh, it is.
Okay, but
well, there's still things that have needs, like, mechanics, electricians, plumbers, right. Things that aren't appreciated. I mean, a whole new level of people who help, computer programmers, software designers. Like, that's like,
You can learn that shit in a trade school, though.
Yeah, well, I mean,
get a degree from a trade school.
Or you can, people who are just fascinated by computers on the onset, like, there's a couple guys I work with at Varsity, they love cars. they've always been fascinated with like cars and engines and parts and things like that. So as time goes on, they actually have a hobby, and this hobby can bring them, money.
Amounts.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the American dream, so to speak. And the problem with that, and my buddy, he said this. He's like, dude, I love cars, but I'm afraid if I pursued like having my own car garage and working on cars all the time, I would lose that hobby.
Everything.
So it's like he makes a very valid point. So it's kind of like, find something that
don't piss where you eat.
Yeah.
Shit.
Well, don't let something just weigh you down. Like, have different. Like, don't just set like one goal. This is what I've I found out in my life. At first I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to ITT. I'm gonna get my criminal forensic technology degree, and I'm gonna be a police officer or work for like computer forensics or something like that. Okay, I disclosed my criminal background when I was 18 and 19, got busted for weed charges. Okay, well in the state of Virginia, and I don't know if it's like this for all the other 49 states, but if you have a class 1 misdemeanor and you're found guilty on these charges, you cannot work in that field. 2 years gone, $35,000 in debt. I disclosed this in my second quarter there, and the director of that department was like, well, I'm not going to blow smoke up your rear end and say that you are going to get a job, but you've been clean for this amount of years, you got a degree, you're carrying yourself professionally. It's just like, you definitely have a chance. No, I didn't. So
you got lied to.
Basically, but I trusted this guy. At the same time, I should have really researched it.
Right.
So, I can only blame him so much because, I should have done my homework, but I didn't really know any better. I just went with this guy's an ex-cop. He was on the Roanoke City Police Department. He was saying these things, but of course he's been out of the police department for like 10 years now.
Right.
Things have probably changed. So I'm like, okay, EMS field. Okay. I went and did the candidate physical aptitude test for the fire departments here in Roanoke, and I went through all 3 interviews for all 3 departments who were going through the process. So I passed the written test, the psychological test, the physical test, went out and did my interview for all 3 departments, no call. I sent a business thank you letter, no reply. I think it was 8 to 10 months later, same thing. Like, after you pass your CPAT test and all those other testings, you're good for, I think it's 2 years, 2 or 3 years. Went back through the process again, interviewed, no job still. So it's like, okay, well, let's redact a little bit. A
lot of people would give up then and say the system is against us, so fuck it, I'm done.
Exactly. Like, my pride was working against me, and I'm sure it still is to this day. I just haven't got there yet to figure it out. So it's like, okay, well, Justin, what do you want to do with your time? And, my thing is, okay, right now, thank God I have a job that's providing me, a certain amount of income per year. And yes, it's a paycheck-to-paycheck job. However, there are benefits with it. There's a lot of stimuli with it. Like, I'm outside every day. Like, that's a big plus. I don't care what I'm doing as long as I'm outside.
Different locations, too, not in the same fucking place.
Yeah, I'm not stuck in a building behind a desk, behind a computer screen.
On a lift, fucking
40
going back
to 50
to the
hours
freezer.
a week. Yeah, that's why, it's like people, they look at, and I work for a moving company. I'm a crew supervisor / truck driver, but I'm getting that stimuli. And yeah, it's hard work. It's physically demanding, but, it's active, like, and I love being active.
Right.
There's a lot of lazy people who work here, and they just get stuck in that routine of just waking up every day and having to do it. Well, let's look at like, I mean, and don't get me wrong, like that gets me sometimes too. But anyways, going back to my career avenues that I'm looking at, it's you kind of have to ask yourself what I like to do. See, I like to hike a lot. I like to exercise and weightlift. I really like being there when people are in their most vulnerable moments, because I've been there a lot, and it's not because it makes me feel good. I just see that there's something in my spirit, in my being, that I see where I'm succeeding. And we went over this last night in our EMT class. It's getting off track again, but the instructor was saying, I've seen so many paramedics, man. They know how to intubate. They know how to take vitals. They know how to push it in the system. They're just spun on, but they're not people persons. And when you're in the back of an ambulance and somebody's dying, to have that sort of like that patience, that empathy, that when you're, I've been in a couple situations before where I've thought I was going to pass out or not make it, or when you're sick, and this is true with a lot of guys. Guys are like the biggest babies when we're sick. We always want, like, for instance, when I'm sick, I want Kathleen to be there. I want my wife to be there to, like, I'm in pain. It's like, as long as I know that somebody's there, like, coddling me and being loving and patient with me, like, man,
bringing the ginger ale,
yeah,
the chicken,
yeah, knowing that somebody's there loving and providing some sort of care for me is like the best thing. Like, it's almost better than any antidote you can give me, because I know there's that human bond there that's going on. So I find myself, okay, Justin, well, here's a gift that we've all been given gifts. We just got to figure out what those gifts are as life goes on.
It's 2 most important days.
Right,
you were born, and day you find out why.
Absolutely. And being a young man or a young woman, you find yourself being good at a lot of things. Okay. A lot of people are like, well, just focus on, 1 or 2 things. I'm like, no. What I've come to find out is pursue those things. Pursue those things. Like as long as you have a solid source of income, devote time to either volunteering or to, like, I like to go out and hike and train. I like to weight lift. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes effort. But I'm starting to find, okay, if I become an EMT and start volunteering, I might not get on with the police department, but I'm still doing something that'll provide, like, I'll meet people now. So now I'm going and doing something where I'm around a lot of other professional people, because in the EMS community, even if you're working full time, it's 14 days a week on 24-hour shifts. That's a salary crew. All right, so the other 14 days, they don't know what to do, so they work part-time jobs. So I might be, because of by proxy, I find somebody who's in a field doing something else, and I'm like, hey, I'd like to try that. Well, come down, put your application in, and so, by becoming more socially active with these things that I'm pursuing, like being a part of, like, the Appalachian Trail Club, I want to start doing that. I want to start doing the EMT service provider. At my church, I used to tutor for 2 years to these kids at West End Elementary School. The stories they'll tell you, man, it's beyond me, and I've been out of it for a while. But weightlifting, meeting people, people who go out and drink at bars, even, like, pursuing the social thing. Like, you meet people, and you start making those connections.
And I go too deep. I start talking about shit that makes them uncomfortable, and I don't mean to. I can't help it. I just want to know. Because if we don't agree on some certain, like, issues,
it's a maturity thing. A lot of people in society, they might be adults, but they're not mature. The guys that I work with, I can tell you, like, man, I'm a grown-ass man. And it's like, yeah, you're being a baby. It's like, yeah, age-wise, yeah, you're technically an adult, but you're not acting like it. You're not maturing. You're not growing. You're just, you're stuck in an entitlement, like, everybody,
owes you something.
Like our company's growing, and they're like, man, if our company's growing, why can't they give us more money? Because we're helping. It's like, yeah, well, that's true, but at the same time, like, why do you feel deserving of it? Because I've seen so many times where it's like, okay, you're carrying a piece, but you're not paying attention to how you're carrying it. You're not paying attention to how you're talking around the customer. You're not paying attention to the conversations that you're having with your coworkers around the customer. And when we get done at the end of the day, you're not helping your supervisor clean off the truck. You're just going straight in there and playing basketball. You're not taking the supplies and putting it back where it needs to. You're not logging out. Like, all these little things that you should be doing, people are noticing and taking note of. And that's why a lot of people at where I work, they're like, well, yeah, people just think...
That was last week, though, man. I'm good this week.
Yeah, people just think if they're physically doing their job, and that's it. I'm like, no, that's like cutting out the shape. Now you gotta fine tune it.
I ain't no fucking slave though, bro. And it's like, dude, when I say no, we fucking pay you.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's like employee's the new slave, and it's like, no, it's not. It's like, look, slaves back then, they had free housing, they had free health care.
That's horseshit. Don't even start.
Oh no, but all those are true.
Are you really gonna act like that?
No, I'm not saying it was a good thing at all.
400 years of slavery.
No, slavery's been around since civilization.
So Egypt had slaves.
Egypt had slaves. The Romans had slaves. All societies, the Chinese had slaves. North Koreans got slaves. there's a sex slave industry going on right now. Like slavery, it will always be here, and it's
not fair. Sex slave, that's not their fault.
No, it's slaves in general. It's usually not their fault. Like when the Spanish,
the black guys. No, the black man sold the black guys to us. Real talk when it comes down to it, but they don't want to admit that because like it's difficult.
It's not it's almost like in order to progress, we have to acknowledge the past. We have to understand where we honestly came from, what the hell happened, and okay, let's not repeat that. And what I see more and more is we're coddling to the notion of like, because this happened, this is always going to be like this.
Right.
Until the people who weren't suppressed now become the oppressors. And then everything will be off. And that's what they're slowly kind of alluding to. But they always say, no, we just want equality. But it's like when I hear Black Lives Matters out there's dead pigs, dead cops, this, that, and the other, and it's just like, they want lower they want lower SAT scores so they can get to a college over an Asian. And Asians statistically score higher than all the other races, and they're giving less leeway, and it's just like
they're getting the affirmative action though. That's who's getting
the affirmative action. It's all well and good intention.
It was made for blacks. Now Asians get it.
Well, it's all well and good intention until it comes to feet to the fire. Like, okay, these students who they score lower than these other racial brackets or from other backgrounds. Like even if you come from like a poor family and you have assisted living, you have food stamps, you have Medicaid, like all these things. Like, okay, well, the presumption is okay, and you look at your testing scores from high school. Okay, so we're gonna let you score lower to get into a college, and once they get to college and they're not meeting that bar, they come to find out that okay, I'm not succeeding. I'm not going to get this degree. Or if I do get this degree, I'm barely going to get it, and my future employers are going to see that. And employers are always going to hire the best person for the job unless they're forced to do otherwise. Right. And that's just the sad part of it. Like free, anything that's considered free is not free. It has to be paid for it by some extent, unless, and this is why the church. So the
military is free. Like military excursion overseas and shit. Is that all free?
Well, my uncle broke down the whole the taxes and everything. What taxes really go for and pay for. And 50%. a lot of it goes and this is where I kind of become like, I know some things and I'm ignorant about other things. Okay. And I can only argue it so much, but I remember being told that certain taxes that were like, we pay property taxes, we pay personal
income
taxes. The income tax is a big
estate tax.
No. We're not supposed to pay federal income tax. That is completely
why do we pay 36? But yet, if you're trading capital gains and shit, you only pay 20.
Yeah.
22, 26.
Well, yeah. I mean,
it's crazy.
It's just the income tax in itself is just, it's unconstitutional. And how has society allowed it to happen? And I think it started in 2013. I think when Taft was in office. This is where, man, like I'm kind of like.
I understand why it's needed, though. You know what I'm saying? You have to admit that,
the income tax. Well,
our taxpayers, our tax money has to go to the police department, fire department,
right. That's
schools.
Local, state taxes. State taxes, yeah, that's.
But state taxes come from income tax.
Well, state taxes are so low compared to the federal income tax.
Definitely.
That's why we get taxes at the end of the year. I was told it's just if you break it down, if you claim yourself or don't claim yourself. If you look at all the taxes they're taking out on your income and then getting your income taxes at the end of the year, you get basically a third back of what you pay. So where does... And
nobody believes me when I'm telling them we get that tax check back. And they're like, God damn, I just got $1,000. I'm like, dude, you only got 1,000 of the 3 that you put in. And
right.
Like, what?
Now, when I started with varsity, I remember I chose the option that I get more of my paycheck every week than I do at the end of the year.
Pay?
Yeah, well, because I did the math. I looked at what I was getting at Papa John's before then, and it was either you claim yourself or you don't claim yourself. I forget what it is.
I fucked it up too. First time.
But I remember claiming because I figured it out at Papa John's because another buddy of mine who kind of got me into more paying attention to politics. Like my uncle always has, but I've never really gained interest into it. But we would have these conversations like, wow, man, this is really interesting stuff. That as a free society, we're responsible, to pay attention to these things and to actually find our laws. Yeah, keep the leaders in check. So he was like, okay, this is when I claimed independent. It's like, yeah, I got more back on my check, or I got more back on my taxes at the end of the year. But if I would have chose otherwise, it's kind of like from January to December. It's like between those 12 months, I might have gotten less back on my taxes, but I got more back on what I earned that year, and that was still trumping what I would have got back on my end of the year taxes. You know,
Somewhat sick, VitaminNick.
It's okay to disagree, and we need to disagree because that helps us formulate the reasons why we like and agree with the things that we do like. It'll either strengthen it, or it'll allow some avenues of, well, maybe I could think this way. So yeah, let there be metal.
Let there be metal.
Amen.
Non-judgmental. VitaminNick Guthrie coming out.
Somewhat sick, VitaminNick, episode 11.